Hello, everyone. This is Alex. It looks like we've got 24 people on the call so far, and a lot of people are joining. Um, I wanted to start off and ask you guys if you can hear me and you can see my screen. If you can actually look at the GoToWebinar software there's a little section where you can send in your questions. And if you can just let me know if, oh, yep, I see people saying, yes, you can see my screen, you can hear me. I'm going to do one thing here. Give me a second to change something. Okay, I just switched my screen over to, I have two screens on here, so you should see the Investment Dominator logo now. All right, so everybody says they can hear me loud and clear, so awesome. It's been a while since I've done one of these live calls, and if you've never attended these live calls, I'm just gonna kind of go over how they work here in a second. But I first wanted to give you a quick intro of myself, and I also have a guest host on this call as well. So um, my name is Alex, and I know I've met a lot of you guys at our live events and things like that, but some of the new people that are on the Investment Dominator, I'm not sure if you guys know about me, but I've been working for Jack for about over 12 years now. Back in the days before we even taught land investing, when we were just actually only a land company, I've been with Jack through those times, and all the way up to the times we started teaching it as well. And I originally created this Investment Dominator system for my wife when she wanted to, quit her job and do deals on the side. So it was kind of for personal use in the beginning, and then we kind of rolled it out to students a few years ago, and um, we've seen just a dramatic increase in the student success once we've rolled this out, and it's really because the Investment Dominator is the only CRM that's built around Jack's Land Profit Generator technique. Okay, everything is kind of designed around his core deal flow, and then we provide some options for you to customize it and things like that. But the main system is really built around the core deal flow that's taught in the Land Profit Generator. All right, so enough about me. I have a special guest with us. He's actually a co-host. This is Warren Davis. He's on the call here. Warren, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to have him on this call because Warren and his wife, they're actually Land Profit Generator students. They started out. When did you start? Was it a year ago or a couple of years ago?
Actually, October 2017.
Awesome. Yeah. So he's been doing the Land Profit Generator. Him and his wife, and they use the Investment Dominator to do their deals. Warren also has a very extensive technical background, and so he's really come on the team here, joined the team to help us with providing support to the Investment Dominator users, but not just like technical support, really coming at it as also a fellow student. That's doing the Land Profit Generator, because that's we don't want to just provide a CRM. There's plenty CRMs out there that do various things. We really want to create a CRM that helps regular people go from whatever they're doing, their day job, to transitioning into this land business and really creating a business from that. And so there's Warren and his wife fit in right into that. So I'm really happy to have you on this call, Warren.
Glad to be here. I'm looking forward to working with you all.
Awesome. So what we're going to do is, if you haven't yet figured out the GoToMeeting software or GoToWebinar software that we're on, I have a little screenshot over here just to show you guys. There's a little hand icon. You can click and raise your hand if you want to get our attention. You can also send in your questions under that question box. I already see that a lot of you have figured that out, because I see your questions there. And so as we talk, this is a live call. This you can send in your live questions through this question box. And Warren's on the call. He's going to be reading off these questions. He might do a little summary of the question just to make sure it applies to everybody. And then I'm going to be answering the questions on this call. But forward going, Warren's also going to do a lot of these calls and answer your questions. So we just want to provide, the best support that we can. And one of the ways we can get a lot of questions answered in a short period of time is these live Q&A calls. Lastly, these calls are recorded. So if you missed one of these calls, then you can just go to the user guide. It does take us about a couple of days to get it all processed and posted on the site. But they will be posted just like they were the last time we did these live calls. And there'll be a little summary as well, so you can kind of skip ahead to different questions and answers as you see them in the list of the call summary there. So kind of works the same as last time. I haven't done these calls in a while, but so if you go to the older Q&A calls, some of the stuff I'm explaining there looks a little different, because since I've done those calls, there's been some layout changes to the Investment Dominator, some updates to it. So I'm excited to show you what's all going on nowadays. And I can already see your questions coming in. So good. We're going to what we're going to do is we're going to start out with some questions that were submitted throughout the week, just to kind of give you guys enough time to write out your questions. And then I'm going to go into the live ones that are being sent in right now, okay? And then it's not going to be PowerPoint slides. I'm actually going to pull up the Investment Dominator right now. This is my demo app over here. And so I'll kind of just, show you what I'm talking about and versus showing slides here. So as I answer the questions, I'm going to be showing you demoing stuff so we can actually communicate a little bit better. So Warren, if you would, can you? We have some questions there. Would you mind reading some of them off for me so I can answer them?
Sure, Alex. Question number one came in. It says, can we edit the listings page, and specifically when we have no properties to list?
Okay, this is a great question. We get this from time to time. So by listing site, we're really talking about what we call the selling site in the system. Okay, so the Investment Dominator comes with 3 different sites. The opt-in page and the selling site are kind of related, but the selling site is where we list all of our properties that we're selling. The opt-in page is where we collect leads on the selling side. So the opt-in page and the selling site are related. And then the buying site we use when we acquire property. So the question is about the listing site. If I go to the listing site here, you'll notice this is my demo site, but I have 2 deals that show up. When you first sign up for the Investment Dominator, you don't have any records in your system yet. And so what's going to happen is if you don't have any records in your system, they are going to not show up on your website. So you notice when I took these 2 properties that were listed and I moved the status away from complete ready to sell, there's really nothing here on the selling site yet because we don't have any properties ready to promote. So the question is how to what to do with this page when you don't have any deals yet to promote. And there's a couple of things you can do. So first of all, you could, first of all, I want to say that you can collect leads without having properties yet to post, because people don't necessarily see your listing page without first getting through your opt-in page. Okay, so if somebody is going to, and I got to reset the default opt-in page here real quick, so that it looks like a new account. But give me 1 second here. Oops, I'm on the wrong one. Selling. All right. So for everybody that's new, your opt-in page is going to look like this. Oops, sorry. It'll look like this. Okay, so this is our default opt-in page. So when people go to your selling site, they're going to see this before they even get to your listings. When they opt in, when they put in their email address and name, then they go to the next page, which is your listing page. And at that point, you don't have any properties. So in the beginning, when you first start out, you're kind of in acquisition mode. You're trying to get your first deal under contract, and as you do that, you're kind of building your listings as you go through the process of acquiring a property. You're actually building the listing automatically for your site. But up until that point, you can still collect leads without having anything here. Now the other thing is, you can, Jack has also, as part of the Land Profit Generator, sometimes at the seminar, Jack will mention this, but he doesn't mind if you take properties that we own, that Jack owns, off of Sunnyland, which is Jack's site, sunnyland.com, and use them on your site as filler. The only kind of requirement there is you got to keep our information intact. So like on your actual listing, you're going to want to put, keep our phone number in there. But it does serve the purpose of when you have leads coming into your opt-in page and then they see this listing page, that you have something there. Like you could take three of our properties, post them on there, and at least you have something there for them if that bothers you. But for most people just starting out, they're not going to have a whole lot of traffic going to this site anyways until they get to the point where they have a property. So I hope that answers the question. And one last thing I want to say about that is, in order to load our listings from Sunnyland over, you still need to create a record in the Investment Dominator under the land deals section. You're going to have to create a record, and you do this by clicking on land deals, and then you click on add record, okay? And then here, where it says property status, you're going to actually choose complete ready to sell, and then fill in the information that you get from the Sunnyland site listing here. And you can even copy down a picture and upload a picture for the listing, and then save that. That'll add it to your selling site in the beginning when you don't have any properties. Once you have properties, go ahead and remove the listing from your site, and then you can just continue with your deals. But I just wanted to throw that as an option out there because Jack does mention that at the seminar and various places. You might hear him say that. All right. Before I go to the next question here, I see that Jay is saying that he can't see my screen. So I'm not sure if that's just with one person. I don't see anybody else complaining about the screen. So I'm going to assume that everybody can see the screen. But if not, go ahead and send us a message through there and let us know if you can't see the screen anymore. And let me say, if you are having trouble, what you want to do is, and it's not resolvable, just go ahead and log off of the call and log right back in. You'll be able to join it through your email link that was sent to you by GoToWebinar, and that usually clears up any issues. All right. So, Jay, to answer your question, yes, I am showing my screen at this time. So, let's see. Shay asked, how many pictures can you use in your listing? The limit, I think, I actually don't know off the top of my head. I think it's 20, but you can also upload different files. Now, to answer your question, how many pictures should you use? Typically, you want to use around 10 pictures or so, because the way that we teach, the way that Jack teaches, how to market a property in Land Profit Generator is you want to tell a story with your pictures. Pictures are what sell the property, and there is a specific order to that that you want to follow, because it does matter, what order you put the pictures in. But typically on each listing, you want to have about, let's say, 10 pictures on average. Sometimes in some areas, in rural areas, you just can't get that many pictures. And in other like metropolitan areas, things like that, infill lots, there's plenty of pictures, but you don't want to really go overboard. And the one thing that I do want to say about the pictures is you definitely do not want to just have pictures of just the lot itself, because what sells property is what is surrounding the property. And it kind of makes sense if you put yourself into the buyer's shoes. When you're buying a piece of land to possibly build on, you do want to see what the land looks like, if there's trees on it and things like that. But you don't need 20 pictures of a piece of dirt. What's more important to you is what is around, what does the mountains in the background look like, what are the trees in the background look like, what do the neighbors look like, what does the road leading to the property look like, what does the closest town look like, things like that. So that's one thing I want to kind of throw out there for pictures. We are getting a bunch of questions coming in. So Warren, if you want to read off some questions, or you want to continue with the ones that we have.
Yeah, I think it's good to go on to question number 2 on the list that we have here.
All right, sounds good.
That will help some of these, maybe answer some of the questions that are coming in. Question number 2 is, how do I generate the net to seller amount on a custom document?
Okay, so that's a good question. So if let me just explain the net to seller amount to somebody that might be new on the call. The net to seller amount is on our offer agreement. So when you generate an offer agreement, which you have to have the property in a specific status, because everything really in the Investment Dominator is status based. Let's just say that I move this over to the pending preliminary research status, which is the status where you're making offers. Now I've got basically 2 offer requests here. And I'm going to go ahead and set some offer amounts so that we can generate our letter or our offer package here. I'm going to save these offer amounts. Now the other thing here is, let's say I set both of those to $1,000, but one of the things that I'm going to take one of these properties and I'm going to look up the back taxes, because one of the things that is different from how we treat land and houses is that we tell the owner that if they have any back taxes, we're going to cover them. Okay, that's stated in our offer cover letter, and also in our neutral letter. So let's say that this person owes $200 in back taxes. We are going to account for that in our actual offer. Okay, and that is different than your average house deal. And even if you're working house deals in the Investment Dominator, it's treated differently. This is something that's kind of unique to our land process. But let's say that we have those 2 there. One has back taxes, the other one doesn't. What we're going to do is we're going to generate the documents now, and you'll notice that on our cover letter, I'm going to generate the cover letter here and move this over to the screen here. All right, so you notice that this one says the net to seller, this is what we're talking about here, is $1,000 because this one doesn't have any back taxes, okay? So they're gonna net $1,000 when it's all said and done. If I scroll down to the next one, the net to seller is only $800. And we do word it like this for a reason. What we're telling them is, hey, we're coming out of our own pocket, $1,000, but we're having to cover your $200 back taxes. And so what you're actually going to receive when we buy this property is $800. So now the question is, how do you generate this amount if you're creating a custom document? Because there's no field in the Investment Dominator called net to seller. This is a calculated amount. And for that, I'm going to go over to the customize section, and then I'm going to go create a custom document. Okay, so here's our custom document. I'm going to add a new custom document, and this is going to be to landowners. Okay, and it'll be a PDF. And then this one's going to be an offer, so we're going to generate it for the pending preliminary research people records. And then we are you're going to write out your document here, but net to seller. Okay, so this is our net to seller amount, and we want to output it here. Now, if you go under where it says insert merge field, you can look at there's one called property back taxes. Okay, this is property back taxes. That's just going to output the property tax amount. But again, we don't know what the net to seller is. And then offer amount is the other factor in here. So let me find that in here. There's one in here called the offer amount, property offer amount. Okay, this is actually the what we're offering. This would be like the $1,000 in that case. All right, now the net to seller, what you can do is if you hover over this help box over here, it kind of gives you some examples. And one of them I'm going to explain right now is if you put two brackets around a merge field, that's a numeric merge field, you can actually do like basic math, like a calculation there. So for example, if you do USD, which would make it return as a US, as a currency number, and then you're going to go you're going to do like two brackets like this, and inside this, you're going to take the property price, which is your offer amount, and then you're going to minus, and I'll put a little dash there, you're going to minus the back tax amount. Okay. So this will actually return the net to seller as a currency number. Okay. And again, if you want this number not to be just a number, you want it to be in USD format, you just do USD bracket, like that, USD bracket. Now all of this is explained under here, under this section here. And so, but that's hopefully answers your question on how to generate the net to seller amount on a custom document. Warren, we got anything else?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Alex, there's a question that's kind of related. I think this might dovetail right into what you're speaking about right now. A question that came in, such a wide range of comps for bare land. What are the guidelines? Owners are not really responding to the offers. And I was just thinking, that net to seller, this question might dovetail into that.
Yeah. So, the question is, I guess that the person is getting a low acceptance rate.
Right, exactly. Owners are not really responding to the offers that they're putting out.
Okay. So one of the things is you want to do some follow-up. If you send out a bunch of offers and you don't hear anything back, then the first question I have is, did the offers actually get sent to the correct people? You want to make sure that there's no kind of mess up in the mail situation. Because if you send out anything to anybody, a few people are going to respond back to you. Now, the few people that respond back to you, you really have to listen to what they're saying, because and this kind of goes through, this applies to every step of the Land Profit Generator process. You really have to listen to feedback and adjust. So when these sellers call back, you want to, you're going to say one of two things. They're going to say, hey, this is way too low. I'm interested in selling, but I'm not going to sell you at this price. Or they might send you a letter back that, just like, this is ridiculous or something like that, which is, common anyways. You might get that letter regardless of whatever you offer. So don't put too much weight on that. But you are looking for the people that don't want their property anymore. And you really want to listen to what they have to say, because one of the things that you want to do is you want to be open to negotiation. If they call back and they say, hey, I'm interested in selling, but you're kind of, I'm not going to accept your offer. One of the things that you want to try to get from them is what is their amount of money that they want to offer, because you already mailed them your offer in writing, okay? And that was based off of your research, and that's based off of your investment needs. It says that right in the letter. It doesn't say that you're going to offer them market value. It doesn't say that anything like that. It says you're going to offer them a fair, quick price based off of your needs as an investor. And so that's what you're doing. Now, when they come back and say, hey, I want a different number, then you just want to figure out where they're coming at and kind of get a consensus to see, are you really far off on your comps? And one quick way to kind of confirm that is by looking at, if you're following the Land Profit Generator technique, you should be looking at a few different ways to evaluate property. One is the comps, like the best way to look at it is what is sold recently in that area that has the same size, the same zoning and things like that. That would be like your number one data point. But if you can't get that, if there's just nothing around, which is in a lot of cases with land, then your next data point would be what is property listed at, and a fair price would for market value for you would be 80% of that, because whatever the prices are that properties are listed at, it usually actually sells 80% of that price in the real world. So you kind of base your calculations off of that. If you don't have that information, there's no listed, like you're in a completely brand new area with nobody really buying or selling land, which is a little bit scary. But if you are in your own little area, the other way to do it is you can look at what a builder would pay for a property. Now, typically builders are only in a market if they can if the properties are more than 100,000 at the very least. So you're not going to find a builder in an area less than 100,000 usually, because the cost of building a house is going to be so much more substantial than, by the time they pay for the property and they pay for building the house, they make no money. So if the property is in an area where, it's over 100,000, you can start looking at what are builders going to pay for that lot. And assuming that the lot is like a residential buildable lot. And typically they're going to pay anywhere from 20 to 25% of the house values in that area. Okay, so you actually, at that point, you're looking at house value comps. Okay, and that's how you're determining the market value. The other ways to do it, if you don't have any of that, which now we're getting into like kind of like the 10% of cases, you're going to look at the size method. So like the cost per acre comparison. So like let's say that you don't have anything to compare to that's like an acre, and your property is an acre, but there's a bunch of 10-acre properties out there. You can do a calculation, and this is all covered in the Land Profit Generator, where you can kind of compare the higher value property and kind of break it down per acre. But it's not like a 1-to-1 ratio. Like you can't just divide a 10-acre property by 10, and that would be the price of a 1 acre. It actually is kind of like a sliding scale there. So you have to, I would kind of refer you to the Land Profit Generator when it comes to doing that calculation there. But and I'm kind of going to wrap this answer up because I know I'm going a little long here, but the main point is you really want to study the Land Profit Generator because there's multiple ways of coming up with comps, which is how you get your market value and ultimately how you get your offer price. Okay, so that's why I'm explaining comps when it has to do with what you're offering, because it all has to do with the same thing. And so you really want to understand those different ways of evaluating property. And this is also, I want to kind of point out, is the reason why in the Land Profit Generator and in the Investment Dominator, we don't just give you a Zestimate or something like that to go off of, because the Zestimates and typical ways that, let's say, a realtor would value a house don't always apply to land. You have to look at these 4 different criteria kind of in order, like the Land Profit Generator talks about, because in land you have a lot less data than houses. Houses, everybody moves, on average every let's say 5 to 7 years. So there's a lot of purchases and sold information and listing information that you can go off of. And so it makes like the Zestimates and things like that a little bit more reasonable. And they're not accurate even on the housing end, but you can kind of do like radius comps and things like that, zip codes. But in the land area, you really have to kind of look at a map, and that's why every one of our comping options it brings up a map, and you can take a look at the comps that way. So I hope that answers the question about how to comp out properties and then come up, because that's the hard part, because once you have the market value, everything else is just using the calculator to come up with your offer amount. Any other questions?
Sure. We're going to, that's good on that question. We're going to question number 3 is when I select some records from the records table and generate document, the order of envelopes and the letters not match.
Yes. Okay, so this wasn't a question, this came in this week from a couple people, and I just want to address it on this call because we did make an update yesterday about on this. But what this is referring to is when you select the records and you click generate document, the order of the letters and the offers, they were all kind of in sync, but the envelopes were in a different order. We did make an update to the system and address that. So that's all been taken care of. But I also wanted to take a moment to kind of answer it a different way and just kind of remind everybody of the way that the investment dominator is kind of built around. Because and you'll hear Jack talk about this in the Land Profit Generator a lot, is we don't waste a lot of time with generating documents one by one or like in sets of 20 or things like that. We kind of run on this model where you want to do like the bulk of the items in batches. Like you want to send out, a 500 to 1,000 letters all at once on one day. Then you want to do all your offer requests on another day, and so on and so on. You become way more efficient that way. And so everything in the system is set up around statuses. Okay, and when you import records into the system, like brand new records, they're always going to import as a prospect. And because they're set as a prospect, you can actually generate prospect letters. Okay, so all of these letters under this section right here are generating off of the statuses of the records. So when it gets down to like this record right here that's in a different status, it will not generate a neutral letter over here. Okay. It also means that when you mail your letters out, you want to actually click this bulk update records, and you want to move however many are in the prospect status over to the mailed letter 1, because you want to tell the system you've mailed the letters. And then that way, when you import a new list, you don't get them jumbled up with the ones that you've already sent. But I just wanted to reiterate the fact that when it comes to generating documents, generally speaking, we recommend that you stay away from selecting and generating documents anyways. We would rather use the bulk generate documents option, which is up here, which is based off of statuses, because it allows you to work large amounts of deals, records at a time. So hopefully that covers that.
Excellent. Another question that we had says, why is there a blank line where the owner information is on my offer? Sounds like on the offer request.
Perfect. So let me see if I can generate this. So this one right here is under, these are offer requests, right? If I go to offer requests, these are the two that I was looking at. Now, if I go to generate documents, which I can also do in bulk up here, I'm going to go over this section. Because I have two under the correct status and I have set offers, I see the options right here to generate the offer cover letter, which we just did a few minutes ago. But what this question is about is the offer itself. So if I open the offer itself, and let me pull this over here. Okay, so you can see here that this one has the name of the seller just fine, and this one does. So what the person is talking about is a blank line that's generating. And let me show you an example. I'm going to try to pull up an example because it'd be easier to explain it that way. Let's see, let me move some of these over to pending preliminary research. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and generate the offer again. And well, these ones all have them as well. So, but okay, let me answer it without giving you an example, because I can't actually pull up an example. I can tell you though how it works, and the reason why you're seeing a blank line there. So I apologize for not showing a demo, but these records in here already have it set. So what's happening with this person is they're, instead of seeing a name here, they're seeing a blank line. Okay, and The reason why it shows the blank line, it's actually a prompt to you as the admin, right? And what that prompt is that you have to go under the actual person's record. Okay, you have to pull up the record here and click on edit. And what you'll notice is there's information under the owners field. Okay, and initially, and let me take a person, like this is Kevin. Let me take a person. So when you open up the record, you're going to see like Kevin Smith was the caller, set as the caller, and then the owner is also set to Kevin Smith. But actually, when it's a brand new record that you haven't worked yet, this is not saved in the database. Okay, and it's done so on purpose, because oftentimes the person that you're mailing to might not be the actual owner. And I would say that happens 10-20% of the time, is that you're sending it to either one of the owners, and there's multiple owners on title, or you're sending it to like a care of person, but there's an actual other person on title. Or it might be the case where maybe the person sold the property from the time that you got the information from the county and the time that you sent out the letter. They sold it to somebody else. So in the pending preliminary research stage, part of the few things that we check on is does this property own, or does this person own the property? Because you definitely want to make an offer to the owner, right? So if he sold the property in the meantime, you want to get the latest information. So that's the reason why we don't save this. We don't assume that Kevin still owns this. We don't save that in the database. So if it was a brand new record, it will actually show a line under his name instead of Kevin, because what we're doing there is we're telling you, hey, go and verify with the county his actual name. And when you do that, you save it in here and you click update record, the line goes away, and then Kevin Smith is going to show up on the document. Okay, so that's kind of the concept around that. And if you see that line, you'll kind of know what to do. Is just go back to the record, verify the owner, and then save it. And that's the action that needs to happen. Is that you actually hit update record, and then it'll save it in the database. And it can be the same name. We can save Kevin Smith, in there just by hitting update record, and that would work as well. Hope that answers that question.
Excellent. Another question, question number 5 is how do I change the notification email for my selling site?
Okay, so again, on the selling site is over here. I just want to bring it up again. Now, let me add those 2 properties back to the site real quick. Change the status to complete, ready to sell, just so we can have some listings over here. Now, here you're going to have a picture, and you're going to have your description and things like that. But when you go into the listing, there's a little box here, and if somebody fills this out, it's going to send you as an admin an email notification that somebody's interested in a property. You can change that notification email address, and it can be separate from your other email addresses if you want. I know some people are for example, they have like a realtor. Those messages go to a realtor, or like somebody else, a specific person on their team, or something like that. Or they just want to keep it separate so that they have buyers and seller emails separate. So in order to set that, you want to go under customize. You go under customize here, and then you're going to go to the company information. Okay, this has all the information about your company. And typically, if you don't set the selling site email, which is what we're talking about right now, then it's going to pull from your default, from your company email. So you'll get the notifications here if this is blank. But if you want it to be different, like if you want this one, to be this Gmail, but over here you want to do like land sales, then you can set it like this. And that means that all your selling side email notifications are going to go to this address. Okay. So hopefully that answers that question.
Great. Okay. There was another good question that came in regarding having a signed contract. It says, what happens when I have a signed contract and the seller changes their mind and doesn't want to close?
You have a signed contract and the seller, well, I mean, that's kind of a legal issue in the like, and it's also kind of like a business decision whether you want to like kind of go after them on that. Our point of view has always been as a company, and I'm talking about, Jack and our company there. Our point of view is that there's so many deals out there that something like that we don't even bother with, because we are truly trying to, match up somebody that doesn't want their property anymore with somebody that does want the property. Okay. So in that scenario, the person that's wanting to back out doesn't really fit into that model too well. And it's a very rare case. I know a lot of new students and things like that, they come across that. Supposedly, I see it all the time on, not all the time, but I see it from time to time, like on the Facebook chat and things like that. But this is not a common issue that we're dealing with. And when it has come up with us, we kind of take the point of view of like, okay, let's just go after volume, send out more mailings, talk to more sellers, get more property under contract, instead of like worrying about the, going after the one person that wants to back out on their word, essentially. I mean, that's what they're doing. They have a signed contract with you and they're backing out. So, but it's really up to you. I mean, you could kind of fight them on that and intimidate them on that. That's kind of like your own business decision, and I'll kind of leave it at that. But it is a valid contract, so legally you could fight it. But another thing is if you have a expiration date on it, they can just wait out the expiration date, and then the contract kind of just expires. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. So hopefully that answers your question there.
Okay, we have time for a few more here. One came in, says CAV, I guess the acronym CAV in the Investment Dominator stands for County Assessed Value. And I find it best to use the County Appraised Value, and basically want to know your opinion on that.
Okay, yes, I agree with you, Ron. The thing is that one thing you'll notice about counties in the United States is that, I mean, they're slowly getting better, but for the most part, they do not run on a central system. So all terminology is not standardized. Okay, there's a lot of counties, and more of them are standardizing their terminology. But as you move into different counties, you'll notice that common words, common codes, common acronyms, things like that are in one county, they are not the same in the other county. And if they are, sometimes they actually mean different things. So we don't just generally speaking, for all the new people out there, we take a look at that. And when you're talking about the different values that counties are assigning, a lot of times they're giving 3 different values. They're giving like the assessment value, they're giving like an approved value, and then they might give the land value as a separate number. And we always go after the highest number there if we're looking at that. So for example, if they have an improved value, that would include something like a fence or like a utility connection, or septic well, something like that has some kind of value to it that the county knows about, or like a shed or something that's going to give it a little bit of value. Now we would pick the higher number, which would include that, because when we go and sell it, we're going to use that as a marketing tool as well. So if we look at, I kind of want to keep it general for everybody. If the county is showing multiple numbers, generally speaking, I would look at the highest number there. Now, if that number is substantially higher, then I would call the county and ask them, am I looking at a house record here? Because if it's a $50,000 greater, then it's probably not a fence or a shed or anything. It's probably a house or something. So you want to just verify that information. But generally speaking, if it's like a few $1,000s difference, you want to go for the highest value. Hopefully that answers your question there.
Okay, highest value. Excellent. We have another question that came from Paul. It says, when using the update button, is there a way to stop Investment Dominator from popping back up, say, to the top of the page?
No, not currently. It just refreshes. In future releases, we will have like autosave where you won't even have to save the information. But currently, no, it's going to always redirect you to the top of the page because it's actually just refreshing the page itself.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So one, let's see, I think Ron has another question regarding sites not showing up as not secure.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that needs to happen?
Yeah. So what Ron is saying or referring to is like if you look at the website here, you have when you don't have HTTPS, you go to the non-secured version of the site. Okay. Now our main, like when you sign up for the Investment Dominator, it's on a secured server, and you'll notice that the sign up link that's sent to you has HTTPS in it. If you go to it, it's going to have this little lock to it. Now, one of the things that we recommend is that you don't send people this link at all. You don't want to send them the Investment Dominator link at all. You want to actually set what's called a customized domain, a custom domain, and that's under the customize section. And we actually recommend two domains. So one under your buying site. Okay, you want to switch this out with a custom domain, and then and there's a user guide article about how to do that. And then you have a separate one for your selling site. So what this is involved is buying or registering a domain like with a site like GoDaddy. Typically they cost like around $12, I think every 6 months or something like that. It's pretty cheap, and you can get two of them, and then you can point them over to your Investment Dominator, one for your buying, one for your selling. Now, here's the other factor to this is that a lot of browsers, and actually in the past, like last year, 2018, a lot of companies like Google and things like that, they are really cracking down on sites that don't have an SSL certificate, a secured certificate. So what you need to do if you want to get this little lock secure thing, which is what we're talking about here, is you have to purchase or obtain. There are ways to get them for free, but the easiest ways is to purchase them. You can, for example, you can go to GoDaddy and purchase an SSL certificate for your custom domain. So let's say that your custom domain is ibuyland.com. You would register that domain for like $12 half a year or whatever, and then you would purchase an SSL certificate for that custom domain. And in order to set up that SSL certificate, you need something from us, okay? So what you're going to have to do is go under the help section here, and currently this is the case. We are actually changing this process in the near future. So this if you're watching this as a replay, this may have changed, but already. But in the current process, you have to go to help, and then you're going to create a support ticket. And in the support ticket, you're just going to say, hey, I registered this custom domain, and you're going to give us the custom domain. Okay, so like www.ibuyland.com. And then you're going to say, can you please generate a CSR for me? Certificate signing request is what it is. We call it a CSR, or it's called a CSR. And what that is it's a little text file that we send back to you, and it has the information that GoDaddy is going to need to generate a proper SSL certificate for you. Okay, so just by purchasing it from GoDaddy, the certificate, you're not done yet. You have to actually set it up, and to set it up, it involves our support. So you send us a request telling us what the domain is, because we need that to generate the CSR file for you. And then we're going to, in the response, which you're going to get by email, and it'll be under your ticket history as an attachment, that file you're going to use on GoDaddy. There's actually a place that you can upload it or copy and paste it, the contents of it into. Or if you're on the phone with GoDaddy, you can actually, forward it to them, and they can help you out with that. But anyways, that CSR file is going to contain information about your account with us, and it allows them to generate that certificate, the SSL certificate. Once that is generated, you attach that back to us, and then we install it on your account. And when it's installed on your account, your custom domains become secure, and you no longer see those the secure, whatever the message is here. I'll bring it up here. You no longer see this not secure stuff at the top here, which depending on the browser you're using, sometimes it even looks more scary than that. It'll say like site is at risk or whatever. I mean, if you have like a virus scan software, they go crazy over that stuff. So, and again, this is also becoming an SEO factor as well. Google has assigned a weight to it in their algorithm. So you definitely want to look into investing in that because it's going to help you with your SEO, and it's going to help with, I guess the peace of mind of your visitors because they see a little lock here instead of something that says not secure. All right, so hopefully that answers that question.
All right. Another question we had from, looks like Nirev was, when are we starting the loan servicing feature in Investment Dominator?
That's a good question. I actually, I'm already using it myself. I've been using it or my wife has, for a while now. I have talked to Jack about it, and it's just a matter of kind of, solidifying a couple of things, but so what I can say is it is done. And so when we move it over, it'll be quite quick. So I'm assuming that it's going to be this quarter, but we'll I don't have an absolute date on that. What might help is if you post on Facebook that you are interested in loan servicing, having loan servicing in the Investment Dominator or under the feedback request, feature request, so we can kind of gauge how many people are interested in that. I know that a lot of students are outsourcing that step. And so, but what it would help, I guess, Jack make a decision on that is to know, trying to gauge how many people are interested in that. But myself, I've already been using that. My wife has been using that for all her owner finance stuff. And I will say the only thing that we're kind of working on too is right now it's all set up for owner finance, like the documents like the land contract that's in the Land Profit Generator. But we are also going to add a separate section, or not a separate section, but it's going to be managed such that it also works with the lease purchase contract, which if you guys know, it's very important that lease purchases get handled differently than loans, even down to the terminology. So that's the only thing that we're kind of like, I guess, adjusting. But we've been using the land contract loan servicing for a while now, and I would like to push it out as fast as we can. But I guess send in your feedback about that, and it can be prioritized. Let's put it that way.
Okay, excellent. We have a question from David. Is there any update on Investment Dominator getting access to county list of prospects?
Yeah, so that's another one where we send in your feedback on how many people are interested in this, because I can tell you the holdup on that. It's a licensing issue. The licensing for all this data is very expensive, and so we have to be able to account for that in some shape or form. And so the holdup is, I guess, the number of users that using the Investment Dominator, but also the number of people that would use that particular service. The data is there, the feed is there, and it's good for about, I think, 98% of all counties in the United States. But and it has some really cool stuff in there. Once it's implemented, it's like we can import all the GIS data for those counties as well, and also be able to pull lists. But what kind of like the factor in that is we have to figure out the licensing for all that, which means how many people are going to be using it, how many lists people are going to be pulling, how many records per month, things like that. And so we don't really have a good like idea of that yet, and that's been the holdup up there. I know Jack, I can't remember how it got brought up at the Tampa event, but somebody asked, or I think Jack asked, how long would it take to implement it? It would only take, a few weeks to implement it, but that's assuming we have the licensing all figured out by then. So I can't give you a date on that either. So I'm sorry about that last two questions, but that's what I've got for you.
Okay. No, I think I'm going to make sure I get clarification on this question. It's from Vimsy. The owner, I think, is filling in Investment Dominator. Is that a service being offered? Because outside services collect, reply, follow-ups, etc. So it sounds like he's asking, is there?
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're saying, Vancy. No, okay, it wouldn't be a service that we offer. Like, we're not going to be servicing your loans, if that's the question. Um, we definitely don't want to get into that game. I mean, it's nice to service your own loans because you get to collect the $20 a month servicing fee, which adds up when you have a lot of loans, which is nice. But it is quite a lot of like I don't know. It's a relative amount of work. It depending on how many loans you have, and so we're never going to be like a competitor to, for example, Del Toro, which is a loan servicing company that you can outsource your stuff to. They have their own CRM, they have their own paperwork, they have their own lawyers and things like that. We're not going to be ever competing with them, as far as I know. But what we're talking about in regards to the loan servicing is in the version that I use or my wife uses, we have a tab up here for loans, and then we can manage everything regarding that loans, and it's connected to the property, it's connected to the buying site, the buyers, and things like that. You can generate documents just like you do here, like late letters, sign up letters, surveys, and all that kind of stuff. Everything related to a loan, monthly payment notifications, things like that. And when somebody pays you a monthly payment, you can log it. And more than anything, I mean, you can manage all that on a spreadsheet if you want. But what you can't really do on a spreadsheet, which gets kind of confusing when you have a lot of loans, is that when somebody starts overpaying, they pay like principal payments, they pay like a lump sum, and then they call you one month and they say, what's my payoff amount? That gets a little bit tricky unless you're using a software. At the end of the year, when you're reporting this stuff to the government, 1098s and things like that, it gets kind of tricky when you're managing all that through a spreadsheet. So the loan servicing part that's not yet implemented would be another tab in the Investment Dominator that integrates with all the other tabs, except for the houses. It has nothing to do with the houses. But anyways, that's it, and it would be like you would service it yourself. Okay, it gives you the tools to service the loans yourself, basically. All right, hope that answers that question.
Okay. Do you want to take another one, or you want to?
Yeah, so we're getting let's see, 12:58 right now. Let's take maybe one more, and then we do want to keep this call to an hour. And what we're going to do is just any questions that we haven't got to, we'll look through this list and we will answer them first thing on the first part of the call on Monday. Okay, because we have another session on Monday. This is a weekly call, so if we missed any questions here, we're just going to address them first thing on Monday. But let's take one more question right now, and then we'll call it a day.
Okay, question from Paul. Is there a way to show the total number of records at the bottom of the page, i.e. not just page 2 of 5 or page 2 of whatever the number is?
Not on this page right here, but on the main page, like when you log in, let's see here, which is the /my, it does give you an overview of how many records are in the system under this screen right here. There's the other thing that I wanted to cover, but we didn't have time to cover now, is you can set up what are called advanced searches, and those will show up under your reports. So depending on how you set up your advanced search, you can have a number count of all the, like for example, if you wanted an advanced search of like everybody that's under the prospect status, you can, and that would give you a count of those people only. Everybody that wants offer requests, and that would give you a count of those people. And when you click on it, it brings up the record. Okay, so maybe we'll get into that on another call, the advanced search and the many different things you can do with that. But I would say, yeah, we don't have something here that shows a total number of items there right now. You can add it as a feature suggestion, and we might add that to an update. But we don't have that option right now. And in the meantime, you can use an advanced search to pull that off, or just kind of reference it from the main page here. If it does show what you want there, like it just shows prospects, mailed, and off requests. So if that kind of gives you the numbers that you want, great. If not, use the advanced search feature. All right, so with that, I want to go ahead and kind of keep prompt on this. I know a lot of people are on their lunch break, so I want to make sure this is just an hour call, and we just went over that. The last question I just see in here is actually regarding all the calls. So let me just bring that up, just because it's kind of like a housekeeping item, so that you can jump on these calls. So when you guys signed up, you signed up through a page, GoToWebinar page like this. And if you didn't notice, when you signed up, you actually signed up for all the calls. So whether you attend them or not, you're going to get a message from GoToWebinar on each one of these sessions. So you'll get reminded. Now, if you want to join the Monday call, you actually have to register under the Monday call sheet. It's going to say Monday sessions up here, okay? And there'll be 39 sessions that you register for that. And again, if you register for one, you register for all Monday calls. And the difference between the calls is that they're at different times. This one's at noon, at least Arizona time. If you're in a different time zone, click this button and put in your actual time zone. Like if you're on Eastern time, put in your time zone, and it will tell you, when the time zones are there. So if you refresh this page here, it'll say on Eastern times, the Thursday call is not at noon, it's at 3 p.m. The Monday call is going to be at 5 p.m. on Mondays, every Monday, Arizona time, which is currently the same as Pacific Standard Time. And then, and that's 8 p.m. Eastern. Okay, but again, you could put in your own time zone. If you're on Central Time Zone, put that in. I know it's a little confusing. We got some questions about this because Arizona does not have daylight saving time, so that's what's a little bit confusing. We use Mountain Standard Time, but we are not the same as Colorado, so that's why I know there was a couple of questions about that came in ahead of the call. I just want to clarify with everybody. We are at noon Arizona time, and technically we're Mountain Standard Time, but we don't have this daylight savings thing that everybody else goes off of. So just kind of keep that in mind. And the best thing to do is just change your time zone here to whatever it is, Central, whatever it is, set it, and then refresh the page, and it will show the times of all the calls, in your own time zone. Okay. But again, if you haven't registered for the Monday call and you want to get on that, go back to your email there and click on the Monday call registration link and register for that call, and then you'll be registered for all the calls. And the other thing is Warren, who's done a great job on this call, fielding these questions. He's actually going to be doing the Monday call as well. I might jump on a little bit, maybe. But Warren is going to be heading up these calls moving forward and answering your questions. So it's going to be great for you guys, because I know in the past, a lot of people said, hey, Alex, your live calls are great, but you talk so fast, I can't figure out what you're saying. So one of the great things I've noticed about Warren is he's very well spoken, very patient person, very nice guy. So he's gonna rock this on these calls. So if you have any questions in the meantime, send them in through the support ticket under the help tab. And otherwise, we will see you on the next call. Warren, you have anything else to add?
No, it was great, Alex. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the next one.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and end the call, and you guys have a wonderful week. And until Monday, see you later. And great, good luck with all your land investing. All right. Bye-bye now. Yeah.